Iran's greatest weapon just died in a single night. On May 2026, in the Strait of Hormuz, the United States achieved a decisive and overwhelming victory, destroying the last remaining Iranian minefields, sinking the final operational Ghadir-class submarines, and eliminating the IRGC's entire fast attack boat fleet in coordinated strikes. President Trump announced this morning the Strait of Hormuz is now under full international control and safe for commercial shipping. What Iran once called its invincible trump card has been permanently removed from the table in less than 48 hours. Tell me in the comments, do you think this is the beginning of the end for Iran's regional power? To truly understand the scale of America's victory last night, we must first look at the dangerous strategy Iran had built for decades. For years, the IRGC turned the Strait of Hormuz into a carefully prepared kill zone, using their stealthy Ghadir-class mini-submarines, each just 29 meters long, 125 tons. With a crew of only 7, Iran secretly deployed thousands of advanced Maham 3 and Maham 7 naval mines at the narrowest choke points. These smart mines were designed to activate on the acoustic signatures of large tankers and warships. At the same time, fleets of Ghazi-class fast attack craft, armed with rockets and explosives, were positioned to launch massive swarm attacks. The IRGC's plan was brutally simple: overwhelm the U.S. Navy with saturation assaults, hundreds of missiles, drones, and speedboats launched simultaneously to raise the cost of American presence so high that Washington would eventually back down. Their ultimate goal was to paralyze the daily flow of 20 million barrels of oil, roughly 20% of global seaborne oil trade, and trigger a worldwide energy crisis that would force the international community to accept Iran's terms. This was classic mosquito versus elephant warfare. Iran, lacking a conventional navy to match America's, bet everything on low-cost, high-volume, asymmetric weapons. They believed their hidden mines and swarm tactics gave them the power to close the strait at will and hold the global economy hostage. For decades, this strategy worked as a powerful deterrent. Tehran repeatedly threatened to shut down Hormuz, knowing the mere possibility sent shockwaves through world markets. They saw the narrow waterway as their ultimate insurance policy, a geographic weapon no one could easily neutralize. But that illusion was shattered between May 20th and 21st. In one of the most effective naval campaigns in modern history, the United States systematically dismantled this entire asymmetric doctrine. What Iran spent decades building was largely destroyed in a matter of days. The human cost of this strategy was enormous. Iranian leaders were willing to risk a global energy crisis, higher fuel prices, inflation, and economic pain for millions of families worldwide just to preserve their regional influence and regime survival. Last night, that dangerous gamble came to a dramatic and decisive end. After Iran spent decades turning the Strait of Hormuz into a deadly minefield with its Ghadir submarines and Ghazi fast attack craft, the United States responded with overwhelming and methodical force. In one of the most intensive naval operations in modern history, U.S.-led coalition forces have destroyed approximately 7,200 naval mines. That's 90% of Iran's estimated total stockpile of 8,000 mines. At the same time, American and partner navies have sunk or disabled 161 IRGC and Iranian Navy vessels, including many of the key mine-laying platforms and swarm boats that form the backbone of Tehran's asymmetric doctrine. The operation is led by the powerful USS George H.W. Bush Carrier Strike Group, supported by Arleigh Burke-class destroyers such as the USS John Finn and USS Milius, Independence-class littoral combat ships, and a large fleet of underwater drones. These forces are systematically clearing safe corridors through the most dangerous sections of the strait, particularly the narrow 2-1 nautical mile passage between Iran and Oman. Advanced mine countermeasures have been decisive. Mk-18 Mod, 2 Kingfish and Knifefish autonomous underwater vehicles scan the seabed in real time. MH-60 Seahawk helicopters equipped with airborne laser mine detection systems identify threats from the air. Archerfish kamikaze robots destroy mines with surgical precision. This combination of manned and unmanned systems has allowed the coalition to clear large areas much faster and safer than ever before. Safe passage for commercial ships is gradually expanding. Several major shipping companies have already begun using the newly cleared corridors under U.S. naval escort, although traffic remains below normal levels due to lingering risks. This is far more than a routine escort mission. The United States has not simply reacted to Iran's aggression, it has systematically dismantled the IRGC's decades-old asymmetric naval doctrine. The Mosquito fleet and mine strategy that Tehran spent over 20 years developing has been largely neutralized in a matter of weeks through a devastating blend of overwhelming naval power and cutting-edge robotics. The psychological blow to the IRGC is immense. Commanders who once boasted they could close the strait within hours are now watching their carefully prepared minefields and attack boats disappear one by one. But beyond the military success, there is a vital humanistic dimension. Every neutralized mine and every cleared corridor reduces the risk of a catastrophic environmental disaster. A single major incident involving a very large crude carrier could spill millions of barrels of oil into the Gulf, devastating marine ecosystems and coastal communities for generations. By clearing these threats, the U.S. and its partners are protecting not only freedom of navigation, but also the fragile marine environment and the livelihoods of millions who depend on these waters. The United States has sent an unmistakable message. It will not allow Iran to hold the global economy hostage. After watching the United States systematically destroy the majority of its minefields and fast attack boats, Iran has been forced to pivot desperately to its remaining tools in a last-ditch attempt to regain control of the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran is now relying heavily on its stealthy Ghadir-class mini-submarines, large swarms of Shahed, 136 derivative drones, and whatever remains of its Ghashi-class fast attack boats. In the days following May 20th, Iran launched multiple waves of over 180 Shahed-type drones and attempted several submarine incursions into the main shipping channels, hoping to overwhelm American defenses through sheer volume. The United States, however, is fighting an entirely different kind of war. Virginia-class nuclear attack submarines are quietly patrolling the deeper waters, using advanced sonar arrays to track Iranian subs from dozens of kilometers away. P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft continuously drop sonobuoys, creating a real-time underwater sensor network across vast areas. Arleigh Burke destroyers tow sophisticated arrays that can detect even the quietest diesel-electric submarines. Meanwhile, EA-18G Growler electronic warfare jets fly constant missions, jamming Iranian radars and communication links with devastating effectiveness. This is a fascinating and highly asymmetric technological showdown. Iran is playing the classic mosquito versus elephant game, betting that enough cheap drones, submarines, and speedboats can create enough chaos to raise the cost of American presence. The U.S., by contrast, is responding with precision, superior sensors, networked systems, and overwhelming firepower that allow it to see and neutralize threats faster than Iran can react. So far, American technology and training are proving overwhelmingly superior. Many Iranian drones are being intercepted before they can reach their targets. Submarine movements are being tracked and neutralized. The U.S. has also adopted a policy of surgical strikes on empty Iranian tankers to paralyze oil exports while deliberately avoiding major ecological disasters. The human reality behind this high-tech arms race is sobering. Seafarers from dozens of nations, Filipinos, Indians, Ukrainians, and Russians, continue to sail through these waters every day, knowing they are operating in the middle of a sophisticated technological battlefield. Oil workers on platforms and in ports live with the constant anxiety of sudden attacks. Families back home worry about rising fuel prices and potential supply disruptions that could affect everything from groceries to heating bills. This technological confrontation in the Strait of Hormuz is redefining modern naval warfare. Iran's low-cost, high-volume swarm tactics, once considered a serious threat, are being systematically countered by America's high-tech, precision-dominated approach. The gap between the two sides' capabilities is not narrowing, it is widening rapidly. The IRGC is learning a hard and expensive lesson. In the 21st century, quantity is no longer enough when facing a military that combines overwhelming firepower with superior sensors, real-time coordination, and relentless innovation. The battle for the strait is far from over, but the technological tide has turned decisively. While the United States and Iran are locked in this high-tech naval showdown in the Strait of Hormuz, the Gulf states are not sitting idle. They are executing a historic strategic pivot that could permanently change the balance of power in the region. The UAE and Saudi Arabia are accelerating massive bypass infrastructure at unprecedented speed. The UAE's second Habshan-Fujairah pipeline, stretching 460 kilometers from Abu Dhabi's Habshan oil fields to the Gulf of Oman, is now on a crash construction schedule. When completed in 2027, it will boost total export capacity through this secure route to 3.6 million barrels per day. Saudi Arabia is expanding the Petroline East-West pipeline to a full capacity of 7 million barrels per day and fast-tracking its $26.6 billion land bridge high-speed railway project, which will connect Jeddah Islamic Port on the Red Sea directly to Dammam on the Persian Gulf. At the same time, these nations are rapidly strengthening their military capabilities through deeper cooperation with Turkey. In early May 2026, the UAE signed major agreements to integrate Al-Tariq precision-guided bombs onto Bayraktar Akinci heavy attack drones. Saudi Arabia has purchased multiple Korkut anti-drone systems and advanced laser weapons. Kuwait, Qatar, and even Iraq have quietly acquired Turkish Hisar air defense batteries and Akinci UAVs to create layered protection around their critical energy infrastructure. This is a historic strategic realignment. For decades, the Gulf states lived with the constant fear that Iran could disrupt their oil exports by threatening the Strait of Hormuz. Now, they are actively building an independent energy and security architecture, new pipelines, high-speed railways, and modern defense systems that makes Iran's threats increasingly irrelevant. The message from Abu Dhabi and Riyadh is loud and clear. The era of living at the mercy of Iranian blackmail is ending. By creating secure alternative routes and strengthening their own defenses, the Gulf states are reducing Tehran's leverage and gaining greater strategic independence. Iran can no longer treat the Gulf as its safe financial and logistical backyard. This shift also reflects deeper geopolitical changes. The Abraham Accords and growing security ties with the United States have given the Gulf countries the confidence to confront Iranian influence more directly. Turkey's emergence as a key defense and logistics partner is further reshaping the regional power balance. For Iran, this is a nightmare scenario. Its primary source of leverage, the ability to threaten the world's most important energy choke point, is being systematically eroded. As new bypass routes come online and Gulf defenses strengthen, Tehran's ability to hold the region hostage through Hormuz is fading fast. But beyond the strategy and geopolitics, there is a deeply human dimension. These bypass projects and defense investments are ultimately about protecting stability. Secure energy routes mean more predictable oil prices, which directly affect the cost of gasoline, food, transportation, and heating for millions of families across Asia, Europe, and beyond. By reducing dependence on the volatile Strait of Hormuz, the Gulf states are helping prevent sudden economic shocks that hit the poorest households the hardest. The Gulf is no longer passive. It is actively rewriting the rules with steel, technology, and strategic foresight. And Iran is watching its once powerful geographic advantage slip away. The pieces are falling into place, and the new reality in the Middle East is becoming undeniable. Iran's Hormuz strategy, its ability to hold the world hostage through one narrow waterway, is collapsing faster than many expected. The combination of relentless U.S. naval pressure, the destruction of its mine stockpile and fast attack boats, and the Gulf states' rapid construction of bypass routes has dramatically reduced Tehran's leverage. The regime now faces a painful strategic crossroads. Continued escalation risks even more devastating American strikes. Diplomatic retreat risks losing face with its hardline base. Its proxy network is under financial strain, and its most important asymmetric weapon has been largely neutralized. Long-term, a new security and trade architecture is emerging. The UAE and Saudi Arabia are no longer passive players at the mercy of geography. Through massive pipelines, high-speed railways, and advanced defense partnerships with Turkey, they are building a future where Iran's ability to threaten global energy flows is significantly diminished. This is one of the most significant quiet revolutions in the modern Middle East. What began as Iran's strongest card has become its greatest liability. The balance of power is shifting, and it is shifting away from Tehran. But behind these grand strategic changes lies a deeply human story. This crisis is ultimately about people. It is about whether one regime can continue endangering the lives and livelihoods of millions of Iranian families facing economic collapse, Gulf residents living under the shadow of conflict, and ordinary citizens worldwide worried about sudden energy shocks and rising prices. True leadership means choosing de-escalation and stability over reckless confrontation that only brings suffering to civilians on all sides. The coming weeks will test whether Iran's leaders have the wisdom to recognize this new reality before the cost becomes even higher. The Strait of Hormuz, long a symbol of tension and blackmail, may finally be on the path toward becoming just another important waterway rather than a permanent weapon.